Hello everyone. Let us continue with our data mining concepts. In this video, we are going to discuss about the association rules and association rule mining. What's this association rule mining? Finding or mining the frequent patterns, associations, correlations, or causal structures among a set of items or objects in the transactional databases or relational databases or any other information repositories can be called as association rule mining. That is, we are going to find the frequent patterns among a set of items in the database. Okay. And the various applications include the market basket data analysis, cross marketing, catalog design, clustering, classification, etc. So before moving to the concept, let us look into some terminologies. The frequent patterns. The frequent patterns are patterns that appear in the dataset frequently. The patterns can be either item sets, subsequences, or substructures. So the frequent item set means it is a set of items that appear together in the data set. So the items can be like computer, printer, or milk, bread, etc. So the set of items that appear frequently together in the data set can be called as frequent item set. Similarly, frequent sequential pattern means a subsequence which occurs frequently. Frequent structured pattern means if a substructure occurs frequently. Okay, so the frequent patterns are the patterns that appear in the data set frequently. Okay. One of the major application of this association rule mining is market basket analysis. Market basket analysis is a modeling technique based upon the theory that if you buy a certain group of items, you are more or less likely to buy another group of items. For example, if you're going to buy a packet of milk, there's a chance for buying a packet of bread too. Okay, so the discovery of this interesting correlation relationships among huge amounts of data stored in the transactional or relational data sets helps in many business decision making process. Okay, so this frequent item set mining leads to the discovery of various or interesting correlation relationships, and this helps us in decision making process. So, which all items are frequently purchased together by the customers? A market analyst is going to analyze the shopping baskets of n customers. Customer 1 will be having a set of items placed in his shopping basket. Similarly, n customers will be having his own shopping baskets. So, this market basket analysis process analyzes the customer buying habits by finding associations between the different items that the customers placed in their shopping basket. And by analyzing these correlations or associations or the interesting patterns between the items placed in the shopping baskets, the retailer or the shopper can develop his own marketing strategies. So this MBA helps the retailers to develop marketing strategies. It helps the retailer to take the decisions. Now, let us analyze this shopping basket. Each item has a Boolean variable representing the presence or absence of that item. Boolean variable, as you know, it takes only two values. Let it be 0 or 1. This 1 value indicates the presence of that item and 0 indicates the absence. Okay. So each item is represented with the help of a Boolean variable. And we can then represent the basket, which consists of a set of items, as a Boolean vector. So this Boolean vector consists of values assigned to these variables, Boolean variables. And these Boolean vectors can then be analyzed for buying patterns that reflect the items that are frequently associated or purchased together. And these patterns can be represented in the form of association rules. So first we'll be forming the Boolean vector with the item list, and then we'll be analyzing this Boolean vector to find out the frequently purchased items. And these patterns or the frequent item sets can be presented in the form of association rules. Okay. Now let us look into some of the application areas of this MBA: analysis of credit card purchases, analysis of telephone calling patterns, identification of fraudulent medical insurance claims. So along with these shopping patterns, we can make use of this MBA in various other application areas too. Now let's discuss about the association rules. As we just said, these association rules are frequently used to generate the rules based on market basket data. So this basket, as we know, this basket consists of a set of items purchased together by a customer during his visit to a supermarket. Okay, and this set of items purchased together by a customer is known as an item set. Okay, so the item set consists of k items is called a k item set. If it consists of only two items, then it is a two item set. Okay. Then an association rule can be represented as the form of X implies Y, where X consists of n items and Y also consists of n items, and these items are distinct for all I and j. Okay. For example, someone who buys bread is likely to buy also the milk packet. Oh, as someone who person who bought the book DBMS is quite likely to buy the book of OS also. Okay, we can generate many association rules which can be in the form of X implies Y. By analyzing the shopping basket, we can generate many association rules, but all these association rules are not at all interesting or not at all useful. So we need to have some measures for identify the rule interestingness. And we are having two measures for identifying the rule interesting: rule support and rule confidence. These two measures reflect the usefulness and certainty of discovered rules. For an association rule to be of interest, it must satisfy a minimum support and confidence threshold. So it must satisfy a minimum value for the support and confidence measure. Okay, now let's look into this support and confidence. So what is this support value? For example, if you're having an association rule A implies B, where A is a subset of I and B is also a subset of I, and A intersection B is null. I stands for the set of item set. Okay. A is an item in the item set, B is also an item in the item set, and A intersection B is null. Then the rule A implies B holds in the transaction set D with support S, where S is the percentage of transactions in D that contain A union B. And it can be taken as the probability of A union B. For example, if you're having a transaction like computer implies software. So the computer, that is the A, which is one of the item in the I. Similarly, software is also belonging to the item set. So we are writing the association rule: computer implies software, and we need to find out the transactions that contains both these items together. Okay, so the percentage of transactions in the database that contain both computer and software together, so that count will be taken, and that one will be the probability of A union B, right? And that value is the support value. Okay, now let's look in an example. We are having a database with transactions in the form customer number and with item details. Okay, we are having four transactions here with the customer number as 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you want to find out the support of 8 implies 12. So we are having the items as 8 implies 8 comma 12. So we need to find out the support of 8 comma 12. So what we have to do, we need to find out the probability of A union B, right? Support is equal to probability of A union B. Fine. So A union B means 8 union 12. So which all transaction consists of these two item sets together. These two items together. So let's look into the first one. We are not having this 8-12 combination, but in the second we are having, and in the third also we are having, right? So out of this four transactions, we are having two transactions with the combination 8 comma 12, right? So the support is equal to 12, that is 50%. Then similarly, we can find out the support of 1 comma 5. The transaction 1 is having that combo, right? No other transaction is having that combination, and so we'll be getting the support as 1. Similarly, if you want to find out the support of 1, we'll be having it in the transaction 1, 2 and 4. So we'll be getting it as 3. So that is 75%. And if you are setting the threshold value as 50%, then the item sets 8, 12 and 1 is said to be a frequent item set. Okay. So the occurrence frequency or the frequency or the support count or the count or absolute support, all this represents the same. It is the item set is the of an item set is the number of transactions that contain the item set. Okay, so the occurrence frequency of 8, 12 means the number of transactions that contains that combination 8, 12. So this terms occurrence frequency or the support count or the absolute support all represents the same concept. Now let's look into the second measure, that is the confidence. C is the percentage of transactions in D containing A that also contain B. So this is taken as the conditional probability. So the confidence is the conditional probability that given A present in a transaction, B will also be present. Okay, so the confidence is equal to conditional probability of B on A, which can also be given as support of A union B divided by support of A, which is equal to support count of A union B divided by support count of A. Okay, so the confidence is equal to conditional probability on of B on A, that is the support count of A union B divided by support count of A. Okay, let's look at an example. We are given with a database which consists of 10 transactions and we need to find out the confidence value for various association rules. Okay, so as we know, the confidence for the rule A implies B is equal to support of A union B divided by support of A. Okay, fine. So for the rule 9 implies 3. So first we need to find out the support of 9. Then we need to find out the support of 9, 3. So when we scan the database, we found that support of 9 is equal to 1 and support of 9, 3 is equal to 1. And so the confidence is equal to 1 divided by 1, which is equal to 100%. Then for the rule 5 implies 8. Similarly, first we need to find out the support of 5, then the support of 5, 8. So when we scan the database, we found that support of 5 is equal to 5 and support of 5, 8 is equal to 4. And so the confidence is equal to 4 divided by 5, which is equal to 80%. So actually this confidence value means that, so out of this total transactions which consists of the A value, how many percentage of the transactions consists of A union B? For the rule A implies B. Okay, so for example, if the transaction consists of the item set 5, then among how many transactions which consists of that 5, we will be having the combination 5, 8. So that value gives the confidence value for the rule 5 implies 8. Okay. So now we know how to calculate the support and confidence values for an association rule A implies B. Okay, fine. Using these measures, we need to find out whether the generated rule is an interested one or not. Okay, so we need to find out whether the rule is a useful one or not. Okay, the rules that satisfy a minimum support threshold and a minimum confidence threshold are said to be an interested rule, and such rules are said to be a strong rule. Okay, so the rules that satisfy both a minimum support threshold and a minimum confidence threshold are called as strong rules. Okay. If the support count of an item set I satisfies a minimum support threshold, then the I is said to be a frequent item set. Okay, so if the support count of an item set I satisfies the minimum support threshold value, then we can call that I as a frequent item set. And the set of frequent K item sets can be denoted as LK. So if you are having only one item set, it can be denoted as L1. If we are having two item sets, we can denote it as L2, right? But now let's move on to the association rule mining. This process is a two-step process. The first step is finding the frequent item sets, and the second step is generating the strong association rules. So we need to find out the frequent item sets. We need to generate the strong association rules. These are the two steps in the association rule mining. Okay. A priori is an efficient algorithm used to find out this association rules. Okay, this technique is used for generating large item sets. That is, out of all candidate K item sets, it generates K plus 1 item sets. It generates large item sets. Okay. So this a priori algorithm is the basic algorithm for finding frequent item sets using candidate generation. And the name of the algorithm is based on the fact that the algorithm uses prior knowledge of frequent item set properties. So a priori algorithm uses prior knowledge of frequent item set properties. And also this algorithm employs or uses an iterative approach known as level-wise search, where K item sets are used for exploring K plus 1 item sets. So as we just said, this a priori algorithm can be used for generating large item sets. So using K item set, we are generating K plus 1 item sets. Okay. The basic concept used in this algorithm is, first, the set of frequent one item sets is found by scanning the entire database to accumulate the count for each item and collecting those items that satisfy minimum support. Frequent one item set. One item set means the item set consists of only one item. Okay, and we are finding out the occurrence frequency of each item by scanning the entire database, and we are collecting only those items that satisfy a minimum support, and the resulting set is denoted by L1. L1 stands for the level 1, which indicates the frequent one item set. Okay, using this level 1, we need to find out the level 2. Okay, so L1 is used to find out the level 2, the set of frequent 2 item sets, which is used to find out the level 3, and so on until no more frequent K item sets can be found. The finding of each level requires one full scan of the database. Okay. Priori algorithm works based on this a priori property. The property states that all non-empty subsets of a frequent item set must also be frequent. All non-empty subsets of a frequent item set must also be frequent. That is, if an item set I does not satisfy the minimum support threshold value, then I is not a frequent item set. And if you are adding an item to this I, then the resulting item set cannot occur more frequently than I. For example, if the item set I1, I2 is not frequent. Okay, fine. And if we are adding another item I3 to this set, I1, I2, I3. So this is not a frequent item set. Why? Because this I1, I2 is not a frequent one, and this I1, I2, I3 cannot occur more frequently than this I1, I2. That is, the superset of a non-frequent item set is also a non-frequent one. This a priori property belongs to this anti-monotone property. This property says that if a set cannot pass a test, all of its superset also will fail the same test. Okay, if I1 is not a frequent one, then I1, I2 is not at all a frequent one. All of the supersets of the I1 is also a non-frequent one. Okay. Implement the a priori property, the algorithm consists of two steps, join step and prune step. First, let us look into the join step. To find LK, a set of candidate K item sets denoted as CK is generated by joining LK minus 1 with itself. Okay, that is, to find LK, we need to find out CK first, and the CK can be generated by joining LK minus 1 with itself. For example, if you want to find L2, first we need to generate C2, and the C2 can be generated by performing L1 join L1. Okay. A priori algorithm assumes that items within a transaction or item set are in sorted order, and to perform this Lk minus 1 join Lk minus 1, the members of this Lk minus 1 need to be joinable. The members, for example, L1 are and L2 are said to be joinable if their first k minus 2 items are in common, and if L1 of k minus 1 is less than L2 of k minus 1. And this condition L1 of k minus 1 less than L2 of k minus 1 ensures that no duplicates are generated. Okay, so to perform this join operation, we need to satisfy these join conditions. So the join condition is the first k minus 2 items should be in common, and the second condition is L1 of k minus 1 should be less than of L2 of k minus 1. That is, the last element of the second row should be less than the last element of the first row. And this condition ensures that no duplicates are generated. And the second step of the algorithm is prune step. And in this step, we are going to apply the a priori property. So the a priori property says that all non-empty subsets of a frequent item set must also be frequent. So if an item set is not frequent, then its supersets cannot be frequent. If I1 is not frequent, then I1 comma I2 cannot be frequent. Okay, if a combination is not in L1, then its superset combination cannot be there in CK. So such item sets can be removed from CK. So that is the prune step. Okay, now let's illustrate this algorithm with the help of an example. Here we are having a database D which consists of 9 transactions, and we are given with the support minimum support threshold as 22% and minimum confidence threshold as 70%. And we need to find out the frequent item sets using this a priori algorithm, and then we need to generate the strong association rules. That is the rules which is having this minimum support and confidence value. So the first step is we need to find out the frequent item set, then we need to generate the association rules. Okay. First step of the algorithm is generation of frequent one item sets. By scanning the entire database, we need to find out the occurrence frequency of each item. So in our database, we are consists of 5 different items, I1, I2, I3, I4 and I5, and we need to find out the support count of each items. For example, our item set I1 occurs in 6 different transactions, and so the support count is 6. Similarly, for each item, we are finding out its support count. So that is the C1. So C1 is the item set with the support count. Okay. Then we are comparing this candidate support count with minimum support count. We are given with the minimum support count as 2. So all the candidates are having the minimum support, and so all are frequent one item sets. So this frequent one item set, that is the L1. So this L1 consists of all the 5 items because all these 5 items are having the minimum support count. Okay, so now we generated L1. So first step is we need to generate the C1, and from the C1 we are generating the L1. So C1 means the support count of each one item set. Okay, and we are comparing the candidate support count with the minimum support count to generate the L1. So now we got the L1. Okay, fine. Now we have L1 with us. So using this L1, we are going to find out this L2. So to generate L2, we need to generate C2. So to generate C2, what we have to do? We have to perform L1 join L1. Okay, so L1 join L1, so we are having the combinations like I1 comma I2, I1 comma I3, I1 comma I4, I1 comma I5. Then the combinations I2 comma I3, I2 comma I4, I2 comma I5. Then I3 comma I4, I3 comma I5, I4 comma I5. So these are the various combinations in the candidate list. Then we need to find out the support count for each new item set. That is, by scanning the database, we need to check how many transactions will be having this I1 and I2 together. So out of this 9 transactions, 4 transactions are having I1 and I2 together. So by scanning the database, we need to find out the count for each candidate. Okay, and that forms the C2. Okay, now we are having the item set with its corresponding support count. Okay, fine. Now we are going to compare the candidate support count with minimum support count. So the minimum support count is given as 2. So some of the item sets it's not at all having that minimum support count. Such item sets will get removed. Okay, so we will be having only those candidates with minimum support count. Minimum support count will be in L2. Okay, so the set of frequent 2 item sets L2 consists of only those candidate 2 item sets which is having minimum support threshold value. Okay, when we look into this L2, all the item sets support count will be either 2 or the greater than 2. Okay, now we got the L2. Fine. Now we are having L2. So using this L2, first we need to generate C3, and using this C3 we can generate L3. So C3 is equal to L2 join L2. So to perform this join operation, please remember the join condition. The join condition is the first k minus 2 items should be same, and the last k minus 1 item of the first tuple should be less than the k minus 1 item of the second tuple. Okay, which ensures that non-duplicate rows will be generated. Okay, so using that concept, we are going to combine, or we are going to perform this L2 join L2. So we are checking the first two tuples I1 comma I2 and I1 comma I3. So we are having the first item as common. I1 is common, so we can perform, and I2 is less than the I3, so we can perform the join operation there. So we will be getting the combination I1 comma I2 comma I3. Okay, similarly, we'll be getting I2 comma I1 comma I2 comma I5. Then I1 comma I3 comma I5. Then I2 comma I3 comma I4, I2 comma I3 comma I5. Then I2 comma I4 comma I5. So these are the various candidates in the C3. Okay, and before moving to finding out the support count for each of these candidates, we are going to apply the pruning operation. We are going to apply the a priori property. The a priori property says that if an item set is not a frequent one, its supersets cannot be a frequent one. If if an item set is not frequent, then and its superset also cannot be a frequent one. So we are having various candidates, and we are going to apply the a priori property on each of these candidates. Okay, first let us look into the first combination I1 comma I2 comma I3, and we are going to generate its two item subsets. The two item subsets of this I1 comma I2 comma I3 are I1 comma I2, I1 comma I3, and I2 comma I3. And we are going to check whether these combinations are there in the L2. If it's if all the combinations are there in L2, then we can say that this set I1 comma I2 comma I3 is satisfying this a priori property. Okay, and so this since all these members are there in L2, it can be there in the C3. Okay, moving to the next combination I2 comma I3 comma I5. Let us look into that combination. And what are the various two items subset of this combination? The combinations are I2 comma I3, I2 comma I5, and I3 comma I5. Okay, when we look into this in our L2, we cannot find this I3 comma I5 combination in our L2. right? So one of the subset is not in the L2. And so this combination is removed from the C3. Why? Here we are going to apply the a priori property. If I3, I5 is not frequent, then I2, I3, I5 is also not frequent. Okay, by adding an item to this non-frequent item set also will be a non-frequent item set. Okay, so similarly we will be checking out all the combinations, all the candidates, and we'll be finding out who all will be there in the C3. Okay, so the C3 consists of only two combinations, I1, I2, I3 and I1, I2, I5, and we are finding out its support count by scanning our original database, and the support count is compared with the minimum support count, and it satisfies the minimum support count as 2, and so both these combinations will be moving to the L3. So the L3 consists of candidates in C3 with minimum support. So L3 consists of I1, I2, I3 and I1, I2, I5. So these are the frequent item sets in the L3. Okay. So what is the next step? We have to generate the 4 item set using this L3. Okay. So to generate the L4, first we need to find out the C4. So the C4 can be given as L3 join L3. So we are going to apply the join operation here. So what's the join operation? The first k minus 2 items should be same. I1, I2 is same, right? So we can join this two tuple. We'll be getting the combination as I1, I2, I3, I5. And we are going to apply the pruning step then. We know that this I3, I5, this I2, I3, I5 is not frequent. And so this set is also a not frequent one. And thus C4 is equal to null and our algorithm terminates, having found all the frequent item sets. So what all are the frequent item sets? The frequent item sets are I1, I2, I3 with the support count 2 and I1, I2, I5 with the support count 2. So these are the frequent item sets of our given database D. Okay, and these frequent item sets are used to generate strong association rules. Now let's look into the pseudocode of this a priori algorithm. First, we need to find out the frequent one item sets by scanning the entire database, and it is initialized to the variable L1. So L1 is equal to find frequent one item sets of D. D is the database. Okay. Then K is initialized with 2, and we are going to generate the candidates first. So Ck is equal to a priori generation using this previous level Lk minus 1. And for each transaction T in database D do, we have to increment the count of all candidates in CK plus 1 that are contained in T. That is, we are finding out its support count. We are finding out its occurrence frequency. Okay, we are after finding out the occurrence frequency, we have to check which all candidates will be having the minimum support. Okay, so the candidates in CK with minimum support is assigned to the variable LK, and this process will be continued until there is no more element in the C4 or in the L4, and we are returning all the frequent item sets. Okay. Now let's look into the pseudocode for generating the candidates. The candidates are generated using these two steps, join step and prune step. So first we have to check whether the two tuples are joinable or not. So the condition is the first k minus 2 items should be same and the last item should be less than the last item of the second tuple. For each item set L1 that belongs to Lk minus 1, for each item set L2 that belongs to Lk minus 1, we need to check the first k minus 2 items are same and L1 of k minus 1 is less than L2 of k minus 1. Then we can perform this join operation. So C is equal to L1 join L2. Okay, and we are checking whether this C is a frequent one or not. Okay, so if it has infrequent subset, then they are pruned, they are removed from the candidates. Okay, so only those candidates which are frequent will be added in the CK. This is the pseudocode for generating the candidates. So once we find out the frequent item sets, we need to generate strong association rules. So that is the second step in this algorithm. We are going to generate the strong association rules. And this can be done using the equation conference for the rule A implies B is equal to support count of A union B divided by support count of A. And based on this equation, the association rules can be generated as for each frequent item set I, generate all its non-empty item sets. That is the first step. For each item set I, generate its all non-empty subsets. Fine. Then the second step is for every non-empty subsets S of I, output the rule S implies I minus S. And its support count and its confidence value should greater than or equal to minimum confidence value. Okay, so the rule should be S implies I minus S. Okay, fine. So let's look at an example. We are given with the frequent item set I with the items as I1, I2, I5. Okay, fine. What's the first step? We need to find out all the non-empty subsets of this I. Okay, what all are the non-empty subsets of this I? We'll be getting I1 comma I2, okay, I1 comma I5, okay, I2 comma I5, I1, I2, I5. These are the various non-empty subsets of I. Okay, fine. And what's the second step? We have to output the rule as S implies I minus S. So the left hand side is the rule, the subset. Then the right hand side is I minus S. Okay. So the left hand side is I1 and I2. So what should be the right hand side? From the I, we are removing this I1 and I2. We'll be getting only one element left out, that is I5. So the first rule is I1 and I2 implies I5. Similarly, I1 and I5 implies I2. I2 and I5 implies I1. I1 implies I2, I5. I2 implies I1 and I5. I5 implies I1 and I2. So we generated some rules. We generated some association rules. Fine. And we need to find out the confidence value for each of these association rules. How to calculate the confidence value? Confidence is equal to support count of A union B divided by support count of A. So by scanning our original database D, we can find out the confidence values for each of these association rules. Okay, fine. So we got the various confidence values as 50%, 100, 33, 29, etc. Right? Okay, fine. If the minimum threshold value is 70%, then only the second, third, and the last rules are the outputs. Okay, so only the second, third, and the last rules are the rules which are having this minimum threshold value. So they are the strong association rules. Okay, so the a priori algorithm consists of two steps: finding out the frequent item sets. After finding out the frequent item sets, we have to generate the strong association rules. Okay, that's about the a priori algorithm. So in this video, we discussed about the market basket analysis, association rules, the measures like support and confidence, and the a priori algorithm used for association rule mining. Thank you.